Hello everybody, and welcome to Josue's list of the top 12 retro gaming systems that you should get for this Christmas. Without further ado, let's get into the 12th. Up for 12th place is the super recognizable, ultra iconic 80s icon, the original Game Boy. This came out 29 years ago as of July. It runs off of 4 AA batteries in the back. Why I think this deserves the best place the 12th place will be reserved for after when I talk about all the systems and why they belong in that position. Without further ado, let's get on to the next one. Next is the Super Nintendo, which is, I think it was kind of obvious because everyone recognizes the Super Nintendo, and it's one of the most iconic Nintendo systems to ever have come out. And that is one of the reasons why I put it at 11th place. But we'll get into more detail after we list all up to number 1. In 10th place is the PlayStation 2, specifically the Slim model, because it does almost every single thing that the original did, but in a smaller form factor that actually looks better and is more functional. Pretty much the only feature that it doesn't have compared to its original is the ability to have an expandable hard drive in the back. And it also gave us an extra Ethernet port at the back. That's why the PlayStation 2 Slim is at 10th place. At 9th place is the original Nintendo Wii, or as they called it before it was released, the Nintendo Revolution, because it was revolutionary. It was one of the first systems to actually pull off OK motion controls, though they didn't really work as advertised until they added the Wii Motion Plus feature, but they were really good, and that is one of the reasons that it is at 9th place. In 8th place is the original Sega Genesis released in 1988, which was Sega's first 16-bit system, and was one of the first systems to really take on Nintendo in their advertising negatively. And it sold pretty well, but still kind of lost to the Super Nintendo once it released 2 years later. Or 3 years later, sorry. Up next in 7th place is the original Fat PS3 released on November 11th, 2006. And you'll find out why afterwards, like I've said with every system so far, which I'm going to start saying now. The Game Boy Advance Special Edition, but specifically the AGS 101 model. Now, if you didn't recognize when I said Special Edition, that's because it was most people know it as the Game Boy Advance SP. But the Model 101 version had a backlit screen instead of a frontlit screen like its original version. That is why it is in the 6th place. And at 5th place is the original Xbox 360, which this thing is huge. It's so big that I can't even fit it up. I could barely fit all of it on frame at once. But this is a great system. It's actually one of my favorites that I own. This takes the 5th place. And it's a great system. I'm going to put it. So for 4th place, it goes to the new 3DS, not the XL version. I know this isn't really a retro system, but just the fact that it's got so many good things that you can get for it on the Virtual Console for the new 3DS exclusively makes it a great system. Also, the D-pad is great, and it's very small and portable, unlike the XL version, which is why it's at 4th place. Third place is the Atari 7800, released in 1986. Now, this might be surprising to you, because, like most people know, Atari is not known for their amazing graphics. But the Atari 7800 is actually a really good system. And if you're a really big fan of the original Atari 2600, but you don't want to have to buy 2 different Ataris, this is perfect because it has backwards compatibility with the original Atari 2600 and its whole own library of games, which makes it a really good system to collect for, because you'll probably never finish the collection fully, so there'll always be new things to find. That's why it's at third place. Second place is Nintendo's very own DSi. Now, you might think I shouldn't put two different DSs on the list twice, but the reason I put this here is because I kind of have a soft spot for the DSi, because it was the first real video game system that I owned, well, after a LeapPad anyways, because I feel like everyone born in like the 2000s has probably owned a LeapPad at some point. But this was one of the very first systems I ever played with Mario Kart DS on it, and it's an awesome system, even though they removed the Game Boy Advance slot from the previous two DSs. Its camera, its awesome photo editing, Flipnote Studio, and PictoChat just made it an awesome system, which is definitely 100% one of the reasons it is included at number 2. The very final one on the list, the one at number 1, the ultimate according to my list so far, should you choose to accept it, is something that would really surprise a lot of you if you're not really into retro gaming. The one at number 1 is the Commodore 64 computer, released in 1982. Now, this might surprise you because it's not even technically a video game system, but it really shines in the gaming department. And in total, including like normal software and stuff, over 10,000 pieces of software were released for the Commodore 64 in its 14-year lifespan, from 1982 all the way to 1996. And that is crazy. Like, if we were, say it's obviously not all games, so let's narrow it down to 5,000 games. That is an insane amount compared to, like, its competitors, like the NES when it first started. The NES only ever had about 800 games. And that is definitely a solid reason for the Commodore 64 to be included at the number 1 spot. Alright? Now, without further ado, we're going to be going on to why I picked each one for each spot in higher detail. So let's go on to that. Controls! Amazing! The Super Nintendo has some of the best controls of any video game system I've ever used. Not only that, but it's got some of the best Nintendo games ever, and there's 721 games to be exact. Star Fox, Super Mario World, and Mario Kart are some of the great examples of the system's awesome game library. But it's lower on this list because I feel that it was just a little bit too obvious that I was going to put it on my list, because everyone loves the Super Nintendo. PS2 Slim is great because of its smaller stature to the standard PS2, and it retains nearly all of the abilities that the regular PS2 had, except for the expandable hard drive. But it still has the ability to play PS1 games, and it can be used as a pretty good DVD player too. The Wii was the first system to truly master being able to use motion controls as its main control method, and it even got better at it when they introduced the Wii Motion Plus accessories and remotes. And it had a great library of games, no matter what anyone says. Brawl was a good game, okay? Spam hate in the comments, I don't care. Brawl is a good game. Also, the Wii will always have a really special place in my heart, because it was the first home console video game system I ever owned. What made the Sega Genesis special was not its blast processing, but its library of games, like with stuff like Sonic the Hedgehog, Golden Axe, and Altered Beast. And not to mention, it's got pretty good controls too, even though they changed them so many times. Went from the 3-button controller to the 6-button controller and a bunch of other third-party controllers too. 2 words can explain why I picked the fat model PS3 for the 7th spot. Backwards compatibility. Just the fact that it can play PS1, PS2, and PS3 games earns it a spot on this list. Plus, the PS3 was the first PlayStation to have HD gaming, and it had the ability to play Blu-rays. Xbox 360. What can I say? Well, it's a great system. Everything about it is great. The backwards compatibility, the games, and in fact, the controllers are probably my favorite controllers ever. Well, for 3D gaming anyways. Above all the greatness of the Xbox 360, there's one feature that almost ruined my opinion of it altogether. Xbox Live. The system relies on Xbox Live way too much. You can't do anything without it. And from what I hear, the Xbox One is even worse. Anyway, the Xbox 360 is a great system, and it totally deserves this spot at number 5. Like I said, the new 3DS isn't really a retro system, but with its newly added exclusive library of retro Nintendo, Sega, and even I think some Neo Geo titles available on the Nintendo eShop, it's a great way to revisit old classics and discover new favorites. The Atari 7800 is actually a pretty cool system. It gives you the ability to play the iconic Atari 2600 games and the graphically superior 7800 games. Well, their sound isn't really any better because 7800 had the same crappy sound chip, but certain 7800 games had an internal sound chip allowing music and better sound effects. Anyway, the Atari 7800 is a great gift for any Atari fan, or people who just want to revisit some games that are, like I said, super iconic. The Nintendo DSi may have lost a GBA slot in the bottom, but the addition of a camera, the photo editing software, and the DSi shop made it a super memorable entry in the line of DS hardware. And since it was the very first video game system I ever owned, well, after LeapPad, I have only fond memories of the DSi and playing Mario Kart DS for days on end. The Commodore 64 is not just a computer. It's not just the best-selling single-system computer of all time. It's also an amazing gaming machine with an estimated 5,000 games made for it during its lifetime, and the ability to program your own games, if you knew how, in the Commodore Basic version 2 and save them to floppy drive or tape and be able to share them with your friends. That's an experience that no other system or computer can offer, and it still works really well today if you have a TV or monitor that takes composite. The Commodore 64 is awesome, and I think it's the only thing that really could have deserved the number 1 spot on my list, from my opinion. Thank you for watching. If you liked this video, make sure to leave a like and drop a comment down below in the comment section. If you want to see other videos like this, let me know, because then I'll make more. I'll be happy to. Like I said in the beginning, I'm sorry this video's late. I know. It's Christmas time. I spent time with my family, and I wasn't able to finish the video and edit it in time. Anyway, I'll see you in the next one, next year. Bye.